Thanks, Basil. I just want to give you a bit of an insight into the Saturday afternoon team. We're a bunch of unique individuals.
Hello and welcome to episode 28 of the Unique Individuals podcast. Good to have all the boys virtually alongside me. How are we going, lads?
Mate, it feels like it's 2020 at the moment, all stuck in lockdown or whatever. But no, this is a bit of a one-off thing. Happy to be here and get pumped, get ready to go.
Man, Lil Rondo, happy to be here. Coming in via satellite from the not the lad pad, but the Burns crib. So looking forward to it.
The joys of technology. Welcome, boys.
Yeah, good to be here, boys.
Awesome to have you guys. It's been a while since our last episode, but a bit of catching up to do, and lots of sport to talk about as usual. But we'll get into it and see what's been happening with the boys. As usual, let's start with Connor because he's always got a lot to talk about. Connor, mate, what's been happening with you? Obviously back at home, a lot of footy as well to talk about. So what's been happening?
Yeah, look, boys, not too much. Normally there's a lot going on. I've just been working. You boys know that's not too thrilling, but we're getting there. We're making money, and I've got Thursday work, and then next week, and then back to the big smoke with you boys. So it should be good. But yeah, footy going well. Played all right on the weekend as a team. We were playing the top team. We were down by 4 points at three-quarter time, and we ended up getting beaten by 6 goals. So it was a bit of a strong breeze, but we run out of legs in the end. But we're actually sort of building a little bit, even though the ladder's not too favourable.
Brownlow Burns.
Yeah, nice. Good stuff, mate. And I guess we'll move on to Hugo. Hugo, obviously you've had some footy as well in the ones, doing quite well there. Found your spot, pretty comfortable. How's that going, mate?
Yeah, it's good fun playing in the ones at Latrobe. We're like the twos, we're building strongly. Might be a bit of a tough week this week. I think we're missing 10 blokes from our team from last week. Should be interesting to see how we go, but we should be fine this week and looking forward to the remaining 10 years of my contract. So,
Well, is it 10 players just out of the ones? Is it, Hugo? Because there's a lot missing that are unavailable, plus injuries on top of that.
Yeah, I think we figured out it's about 10 tonight who are going to miss.
That's grim.
I thought you would have. I thought you would have had life membership at the club already instead of 10 years. After all the stories that I've heard and everything like that, surely they've locked it down, put it in bronze, and put it outside the dotted Whitehead building or something like that.
No, just the 10 years. Smart management decision. Takes me through to unrestricted free agency, and we'll go from there. My current contract, the only thing I've gained is a shin pad from Kaz, our skipper. I'm not getting any money from this 10-year deal, but I'll negotiate that in a couple of years' time.
Free beers, maybe.
Yeah, hopefully that actually be sold.
Yeah.
Well, as team manager, I'd like to manage Hugo as well, so I'm actually Hugo's manager.
Yeah. Heavily back-end contract for Hughes.
Okay. Yeah, good stuff. No, it's good to hear Hugo. And I guess we'll talk to Blair now. Blair, obviously back at home as well. Back at hometown. I'm doing work for the whatever you call it. What's it called? That little joint. How's the journalism gig going, mate?
Yeah, no, shout out to the lads at Spectator. Obviously flourishing since I've been back and been in the sport, writing a few articles. I think I've been back for about 5 editions and 5 back pages. So a few interviews, doing a bit of general stuff this week, a few cattle short in the department. So thought I'd put the hand up, writing a few council stories and stuff. But
any wiener sales to talk about?
No, early in the year. So unfortunately, I was I think I just left uni, so I missed out, unfortunately. But that's obviously the wieners is my favorite thing to report on. So a bit disappointing there, but it's all been going pretty well. Pretty busy though. Got on at probably 6 o'clock tonight. Had a job at 5:15. But it's a few things keep me busy. But shout out to Jazz. The AirPods she bought me for my birthday. They're coming in clutch actually.
Oh, good stuff. Yeah, nice. And I guess Jackson, next one to talk about. Mate, obviously just, at home cruising. A lot of stuff with the inner sanctum as well. On the grind, even though it's, the mid-season break. And you've also got a story listed down here that you want to share with the viewers and listeners. Yeah.
Well, firstly, I'm still in lockdown from the last time we left us today, COVID. But no, well, turns out I did have COVID in the end after that whole kerfuffle and everything like that we had from the last episode. But yeah, no, I suppose the story I'm alluding to, it's been everyone's gone away and everything like that. So I thought I might as well hit the town, have a night out, and I did that. Oh no, step back. I went to Brunswick Street, the stomping ground, as usual, and somehow found my way at Purser, and got there, and the night's going on, and I'm dancing as what some people would call it. Other people might call it lunacy, but yeah, I like to think I call it dancing. But and my hand sort of, raised up as it usually does, and like in my dancing moves, and I brought my arm down, and I felt something. I'm like, hold on a second. I'm like, what's going on here? Turns out my elbow has hit the top of the head of a dwarf or a midget or whatever you want to call them, and absolutely knocked him in the top of the head. I'm like, yeah, it feels a bit weird. I'm like, oh shit, I'm sorry. I can't say I did that on purpose, but yeah, luckily they were all good with it, and probably wasn't the first time that's happened, but yeah, life goes on.
All in all, pretty disrespectful story, to be honest.
What else am I supposed to say for it? I probably gave the PG version of it, but
It was probably Connor, to be honest, in there. So like, take it easy. Could have been, yeah.
well,
It
probably
was
understands why it was bald and it wasn't hair that I felt. So
a lot of
yeah.
similarities between Jackson and Connor when it comes to going out to a club. Yeah.
To be honest,
Elaborate.
I was getting quite concerned about where that story was going when you said you brought your hand down. You didn't know what you felt.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't sound the best, does it?
Like, I mean, a dwarf, it's not great, but we could still take that.
Yeah. I thought you might have been on like Donkey Kong, mate, but obviously not.
Nah, that's for another night, mate. That's from another night.
Oh boy.
Fair enough, mate. Good things come to those who wait.
Intriguing story though. Yeah, doesn't happen to everyone. So yeah. Someone move on.
Well, that just explains how bored I've been over this last little bit. But Sanctum's running well. Press conference tomorrow, so yeah, should be good. Just released a baseball article, which
Yeah, have a read. It's a good one.
Yeah.
No, he's on it, man. So he's on the grind.
Yeah.
Self-made. If we sorry to cut it off, but yeah, what have you been up to, Alan? Obviously, we've all said our piece. Some stories a bit more interesting than others, and you have any interesting ones?
Come on.
Yeah, been doing a bit. Yeah, a couple of days after the last episode, I had a little holiday in the Gold Coast, which was really nice. Yeah, great weather there, and just a good little getaway. And then actually today, James, my brother, and two other guys from work, we went on a massive run, basically a hike, but we were running uphill, Mount Disappointment, if anyone knows it. Yeah, really steep hill. We ran about 8Ks up, and then obviously had to run back down, so it was about 16Ks all up. But yeah, no, it was really good, and we had like that David Goggins mentality of just like running through the tough conditions. It was really muddy track. It was about 8 o'clock in the morning, so it was still pretty dark. But no, it was really good. Yeah, and then obviously been doing basketball, which I guess we can all chip in here. Basketball's been going well. Fortunately lost last game against a pretty quality opposition, but I think the week before we had a good win against the Saints. a few fill-ins as well, which helped as well to strengthen the team. But boys, overall in basketball, we're sitting pretty well on the table. We're about, I think
we're
what would it
third
be?
from memory.
3 wins, 2 losses.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. And yeah, we're third or fourth. With a tough opponent this week as well. But I mean, hopefully get a few more troopers back in the team lineup. And yeah, but overall, boys, it's going pretty well. And yeah, how are we enjoying it?
Yeah, well, obviously I can only speak from the one game that I've played since then, but no, it's definitely been good. We've obviously struggling for numbers as we've had at the moment. Obviously life comes first, and hasn't been ideal, but we've made the most of our situations that we've had, and it was a well thought out game, I think, from Sunday. Obviously trailing by 20 plus at one stage, and taking it back to about 9 points was good, and yeah, definitely gives us some hope. But yeah, on the big court this time around, this week we're playing on court 1, so
Really? Oh wow.
yeah, so
Promotion.
final court 1, yeah, grandstand type atmosphere they want for us. So yeah, gotta
Crowd
look
of
up to it.
5 people.
Yeah, exactly, and the rest. So,
And no score.
yeah, probably.
Should be good, though. Should be good.
Yeah. Hopefully you
I
boys
guess,
get a win.
Burns
Obviously,
boys, when are you guys back into the team lineup?
well, I'll miss this game, and then next week I should be back, and yeah, almost back on a permanent basis, because I'll be back at uni pretty much the whole time. Not sure about Blair.
Yeah, I'm not sure about myself either, but look, around work, around writing these articles, like I'm gonna get back as soon as I can, and yeah, get back in the lineup and hopefully help the boys get a couple more wins on the board. So no, it's been a good season so far. Obviously we got off to a few rocky starts, a few brutal grading games, got a couple shirt fronts, but we move on though, and yeah, it's been good since. So yeah, thanks, shout out to the fill-ins, putting the hand up each week, and yeah.
No, it's been good stuff. No, good boys. All right, I guess we'll move on and get into the sport talk. So, Mansell, you can take this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, usually we start off with footy, but something has to be at the forefront of our minds to be overtaking the footy talk in this case, and that being the Ashes, obviously being played in England. First test was completed last Wednesday, and gee, wasn't that a sight to behold? Probably one of the best finishes for an Ashes test that we've seen, and that's saying something. And then we've got the second test that starts tomorrow. Boys, I want to get your thoughts on the first Ashes test, and how do you guys see it playing out? Is it, I suppose, favourable result for Australia? Is there a bit to work on for English? Owen, we'll start off with you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, overall great test match. I think for the neutral fan, I mean, 1 minute you'd think, oh, England are in the lead, and then a good batting innings from Uzi, and then you think, oh, Aussies have got this. So no, it was a perfect test match. Got to the dying last 5 overs, I think, and to only win by 2 wickets as well. Pat Cummins, absolute legend. I mean, to be, captain's hard enough, but to basically finish off the job with an impressive 44 not out, and knowing that if he got out or if Gaz got out, I mean, I can't see Hoff winning the game for us. So it was basically him to win it, or England would win. So incredible performance from Pat Cummins and the whole Australian team. Uzi, absolute legend. Just seems to be getting better by the age. But yeah, great test match, and hopefully we can continue this form. And yeah, hopefully the second test match is just as good. And yeah, with Bazball, I mean, yeah, it's exciting cricket to watch. I don't mind it. But yeah, I think it was a big mistake to declare on what England were 393 on day one.
Day one.
Yeah, and they could have kept going, and they probably should have, but they just wanted to have a go at the Aussies late in day one. But I think that's where England got it wrong. But other than that, Bazball I don't mind it, and it just makes Test cricket a bit more exciting, and I mean, it's good to see, fours every over and, an exciting contest. So, no, it's good to watch and looking forward to the second test starting tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I'll provide my thoughts in a second, but Connor, we'll go with you. There was one moment in the test. Obviously, Owen alluded to the 393 on day one and declaring after that. But there's one thing I think changed the game, and just want to get your thoughts on England deciding to not go with the new ball when Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon were almost new to the crease, just about. Definitely in the earlier part of their partnership. Did it, obviously we know what the result was in the end, but would you have taken the new ball straight away with Stuart Broad, who was bowling immaculately, and I suppose getting that option there?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of an interesting one because throughout the whole test, when they took the new ball, it didn't really do too much, and then sort of 15 or 20 overs later, that's when it sort of started doing a bit. So I think that's what they were a bit worried about a little bit, and that it might be easier to score and come off the bat better and a bit more pace, sort of off the wicket, and they could use the pace, and that's why, yeah, England I don't think took the new ball straight away. So, and then when they took it, it didn't really do much. So I don't know if they necessarily made the wrong decision because the Australian batters probably looked just as good, if not better, when they actually took the new ball, just because they were able to use the pace and hit the ball well. But yeah, obviously very exciting game. But it's with the way England play, it sort of felt like they were on top. But then you sort of look up and they're fourth for like 130 off 30, and they're in a bit of a precarious position all of a sudden, even though they batted pretty well. But they get themselves out playing shots that, yeah, you wouldn't normally. You'd probably leave them. But, yeah, I think it's pretty positive for Australia considering Smithy and Marnus and Warner as well, but particularly Smithy and Marnus didn't make any. And I know this second test pitch looks pretty green. So, if it's actually hard to bat on, I can see England still batting aggressive and making runs quicker than average, but I think it's going to be a lot harder to face and a lot harder for them to play that way if the pitch actually has a bit in it.
Yeah, well, England are obviously taken that into account. They've announced their 11 for tomorrow's test, and Moeen Ali out and Josh Tongue in. So they've gone with four seamers and Joe Root as their full-time spinner, or as their first spinner option. Where will pace be the answer, do you reckon, or will they need to utilise Joe Root a lot more than what they did in the first test?
I think by the looks of the deck, the pacemen are going to get a bit happening. Like we went from an absolute road to an absolute green top. Seeing a picture of it, it looks like it's going to be pretty tough to bat on. And like blokes like Scotty Bowen and that, they're going to love that deck, I think. Yeah, so I think it's probably not a bad shout. To be fair, Moeen Ali's he didn't do much. I don't really rate him much. So I think and another guy I don't rate, Ollie Robinson.
Robinson.
That's right.
Oh, excellent.
So my key takeaway from the test, Ollie Robinson's quite a flog, and Bazball are happy with mediocrity. That's all.
Can we get a Blair's bake instead of a Billy's bake?
Well, I think I was going to bake Ollie Robinson, but just about every retired Australian cricketer already has on the media. Seen some all sorts of things hating on the big fella, but what Punter said, it's pretty fair. Like, Ollie, shut up, mate. Focus on actually bowling and getting wickets, and don't carry on. And like, it was also thought it was pretty interesting how saw Jimmy Anderson now his disapproval of the pitch that was used as well. That's another side note, but Ollie Robinson's a bit of a clown, isn't he? Really? And then to hear that they're saying they're happy with the result. Well, they're like, oh, it's as good as a win. We made them scared. It's not as good as a win because you didn't win. So, Hunter said, which I love this. In my books, if you win, you win. If you draw, you could consider saying you nearly won, but you didn't. and if you lose, you definitely didn't win, did you? So
It's pretty simple.
yeah, it's not rocket science, is it?
No, it's not.
Hugo, thoughts on Punter's philosophy?
Oh no, you can't argue with Punter, can you? He's the GOAT.
Uh,
Can't argue with him. And Ollie Robinson should know if you come at punter, a whole country's going to come right back at you. So Ollie Robinson can shove that in his pipe and smoke it.
Yeah.
There you go. The man has said it himself. But,
Yeah, no, Ollie Robinson, come on, mate. You bowl 124k bounces. It's not scaring anyone. You know, you're a big fella. You should be able to bowl 150 plus. But I don't know.
If Joffrey wasn't injured, you'd be back playing clubbies, mate.
Probably be playing third grade with subtle little outswingers for the old fellas.
Bringing back his offense.
Yeah, that's a joke. He's a laughing stock.
I think Alex Carey would be keeping in front of the stumps if it was to Ollie Robinson. I think that's
absolutely. I'll be keeping in front of the batter.
Oh, mate, Gary Billings would be at the stumps. Jesus.
You're right, man.
But there is one thing that I sort of want to touch on. I know, Blair, you've already spoken about baseball, but you spoke about it in mediocrity. But I suppose I want to go back to the last episode that we had of last year, and your big call was for baseball to revolutionise Test cricket. Now, I know it's a big debate at the moment. When we consider the 12 months, have they really played a big opponent? Now they're playing the Test, the world number ones, and I want to raise that question to you. Will they be able to revolutionise Test cricket? To put it in your words.
Well, I think the way they're going is they're not backing down on it, and they haven't. And they played a great. You saw the first shot of the whole Test, and that sort of set the tone. They're not backing away from it. Look, it's worked pretty well for them over the last year or so against nearly every other team. The real test comes against us, and I can guarantee there were some Australian fans a bit nervous at times. So look, it's good for cricket. I don't mind it. I'm more like, my comment about mediocrity was more the mentality they take away from that test, as they think that's a good result. Like, I think at times definitely Australian fans and players were, like Paddy Cummins said, and he likes it, and he's obviously going to say that, but like that, we had to make some changes. We had to think on our feet when they were hitting 10 off overs. Look, I don't mind it, and I think if they stick by it, like it's every chance of working. The next test that starts tomorrow on that pitch, I think it's going to be tough. The pitch they played on is probably very well suited to their style, and they couldn't win with that. So it'll be interesting from that point of view. But look, I think you'd have to almost say that clubs in the future, sides at the top level, will consider playing a style like this, depending on the players they have, depending on the way they're coached, and depending on the way where they play. I think that this is the start of, like, I still think it's fairly, it's fair to say that this is probably the start of a new sort of era for Test cricket, whereas there's going to be a lot of players that play Test cricket now that get selected that for whatever club, that they're going to have a few more strings to their bow than just Pajara, lockdown and play that sort of style. So I think if they stick by it long enough and it bears enough success, there'll be definitely like teams that look at doing something like that.
Yeah, well, funny you say that, actually, because England are scoring at 2 runs more and over than what they were before the appointment of Brendan McCullum. And the players that they've brought in are pretty much like the main ones that have stuck out are Ben Duckett and Harry Brook, and they've scored. They're scoring at a rate of over 95 runs per 100 balls, so 95 strike rate. I think in terms of the first test that they had, like we said, England, I reckon, were probably on top, for most of that test. I think an extra 60 runs, especially Joe Root unbeaten out there, definitely would have helped and probably got him over the line if we look at, the end of it and chasing 60 more runs in those conditions. I don't think the Aussies would have been able to do it. But yeah, Blair, if you want to.
Yeah, just and on that, like, it just made me think, like, baseball, the way they play, the strike rate these guys are going at is pretty incredible. And look, they're going to have games and they're going to have tests where they lose a lot of quick wickets and it looks stupid, the baseball, and people will laugh about it, people will have jokes about it. But then there's also going to be tests where it's going to come off and work, and and they can't really turn back from the way they're playing. So their only option really is to keep playing like that. And I mean, I feel like I speak for a few, and like blokes like Harry Brooks and they're taking on Scotty Boland and hitting him on the up over cover for 4. You go, well, yeah, if they hang around long, like they don't have to stay out here long, and they can damage us pretty heavily. And yeah, so I think it's probably going to be tough against our bowling attack in Australia, but yeah, most teams it probably comes off. But yeah.
Yeah, they definitely can't like change from what they've been doing, because all those players really, like, I don't think most of them don't have much of a defense on them really. Like that's why they play the way they do, and that's why they can do it well, because that's their main strength, batting aggressively. But yeah, they're obviously going to score quick, but I just can't, if the pitch is like that and does like, well, how it looks and does as much as what it probably should. Like, it's potentially one of those games where they will lose a lot of quick wickets, and especially if we get the ball in the right area. And I don't know if Scott Bowen will get a game or not, but I mean, I look at that pitch and I think he'll be a lot harder to face. He's always pretty predictable, but like the ball just didn't move for him and didn't suit him at all. But it'll be interesting at selection, because I mean, Stark can swing the ball early as well. So.
Well, yeah, the risk that you take, taking out Scotty Boland and putting in Mitch Stark is that, yeah, Scotty Boland is able to go line and length, and this pitch will be absolute paradise to him. But, if you take him out because of leaking runs, Mitch Stark has been known for leaking runs in the past as well. Like, I mean, you do have the times where he gets your first ball and everything like that, but he also has his moments where he can go for 6 or 7 and over, like we've seen over the last couple of years. So it's definitely going to be a tough decision for the selectors to make. As to the direction they'll go with, time will tell, I suppose. But yeah, it definitely should be a good series. Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on to the footy, and I know there's been a lot of action since we've last done an episode, so we're not going to go into every single game because I know that'll be absolutely torture to everyone. But I'm kind of going to go a little bit on the spot here with you guys. It's obviously probably to the middle part of the season now. Everyone's had their buys. I just want to get your thoughts on. Go one by one. I want to get your thoughts on the main aspects of the season, so your premiers, your Brownlows, etc. And I sort of want to see if anything really changes, or if you've got you've got any more predictions to make, I suppose. So, Owen, we'll start with you. And looking at your predictions from beforehand, you had Geelong on top to start with and win the premiership. You also didn't have Collingwood in the 8, nor Port Adelaide. None of you boys actually had Port Adelaide in the top 8. Then Clayton Oliver has missed the last 6 weeks, and you had him as a Brownlow medalist. Ashcroft, is sort of dueling with Sheasel probably for Rising Star, and then Jezza Cameron is in the top 3 of the Common Medal. I just want to get your thoughts on your predictions. Anything you would change? I suppose the point of where Geelong are at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the predictions saying that they're a bit off, aren't they? But look, I think it wasn't a bad call to think Geelong would be right up there again this year. And I'm not doubting Geelong to make the top 8. I think they still will, but are they going to be a threat? Probably not. But if there will be a threat, between 5th to 8th spot, it probably is going to be Geelong. So, but yeah, look, right now I hate to say it, but Papayas just look as good as they've ever been, coming off similar form from last year. Did I not have them in my top eight?
No, you didn't have them in the top eight. You
I
had
think
so
that was me just being a bit biased, I think, or just me hating the Pies. But look, realistically, I thought they would make the eight, and they're proving to be one of the best sides this year. Again, Port as well. None of us had Port, but again, Port have been a wild card this year. They're just working really well together and finding some great form. Yeah, do you want me to like give you what I think now, like my predictions now?
yeah. So I'll go through the eight that you had to start off with. So you had Geelong on top and obviously winning the premiership. You had
Okay.
Brisbane second, Melbourne third, then Freo in fourth, Sydney fifth, Richmond, Carlton, and Bulldogs to round out the eight. So if you sort of want to, I guess, change your predictions, which
Yeah.
sounds like you might.
There's plenty I would change. Yeah, there's plenty I would change. I'm just looking at the ladder now. Look, I think all teams in the eight right now, like top four, I think will make the eight. Not sure exactly where they'll finish, but they're not dropping out. I think Saints will hang on as well, even though they're slowly on the downhill. I think they'll hang on. I think Crows will make the eight as well. I'm questioning over Essendon and Bulldogs. I think they're the two teams that I feel like could drop out the eight by the end of the season. And I think if any teams will replace them, I think Geelong will, and either Freo or Richmond. That's my predictions as of now. Changing them from what I had at the start of the year. Brownlow right now, it's a hard one, but I reckon the Bont. I think all Butters, but I think Bont. I think Bont's deserved it, and look, he's having a great season again. So wouldn't doubt that he's got a great chance. Coleman, I think everyone thought Jezza, but he's had a pretty quiet couple of rounds, and obviously he's missing out this week due to concussions. So, but I'm backing my man Tex. I reckon he's in some great form for the Crows, and he's very accurate with his kicking. He's only kicked about 11 behinds and 43 goals, I think, from last time I checked. So he's been very accurate this year. Rising star, I think it's out of Ashcroft or Sheasel. Yeah, I think Sheasel's had a stellar year. And yeah, top eight, as I said, I think the only teams that could fit into the top eight by the end of the season are Geelong, Freo, or Richmond. Yep.
And are you saying Collingwood is premiers? Is that what I've got?
Yeah, I think as much as I don't want to say, I think Collingwood. I can't see Port. I reckon the Pies. I reckon it's about time they get it all together at the right time of the year, and they're probably due for a premiership. So yeah, I reckon the Pies.
Speaking of Richmond, we've got three of you guys actually picked them to be, your premiers for the year, and I suppose they've had sacking of Damien Hardwick and got an interim coach in. We'll start off with Connor, and I want to get your thoughts on Richmond's season so far. Whether you think they can live up to your prediction of fourth in the premiership, and yeah, we'll go from there.
The sacking's an interesting call. I don't think it was quite that, mate. But I don't know. They're not making the top four from here. That's for sure. They are playing well now and seem to be getting a few players back. The main man we need back is Tom Lynch, and he's still out for ages. But yeah, I don't know. We're playing well enough, and that's what we do like every year, especially the premiership years. We sort of leave it a little bit late, or I guess just time the run, and then just don't put a foot wrong from there. And it's obviously worked out, but yeah, it hasn't panned out the way they wanted. But I still have a bit of hope that we can make the top eight, and if we don't, I think we can finish very strongly, and we'll be very close. If we miss it, I think we have a decent enough draw, and if we can beat a team like Brisbane, which is it's going to be tough, but if we can knock off Brisbane this week, then I'd be pretty confident of our chances.
Yeah, well, funny you actually mentioned Tom Lynch, because you had him down for the Coleman medal at the start of the year. Then you had Will Ashcroft to win the Rising Star, Took Miller to win the Brownlow. And your eight was in this order: Brisbane, Geelong, Melbourne, Richmond, Sydney, Collingwood, Freo, and Carlton. Any changes you want to make, or anything along those lines? Yeah.
Well, if I had my time again, probably wouldn't be picking Carlton in the top 8. But I think obviously I think a few out there would have picked them. But yeah, they've had a shocking run. So yeah, I don't know, and obviously Richmond, I would have had them down a little bit as well. But what was the order again? The last 4, the 5th to 8.
Sydney, Collingwood, Fremantle, and Carlton.
Yeah, geez, that's not great. Yeah, so I probably didn't have a team like Western Bulldogs or Essendon in, or Port Adelaide. But yeah, I think Port Adelaide. I reckon Port Adelaide, like obviously Collingwood are going very well, but Port Adelaide are, yeah, they're playing as well probably. They're pretty unbeatable at Adelaide Oval right now, and their young fellas have just had really good years like Butters and Rosie. So, I think they could, potentially win the flag. And if we're gonna go off predictions now, I'm actually like Collingwood a fair chance, but I don't know. The only thing, could they have peaked too early with Collingwood? That's maybe the only thing, because the best team or the most consistent team throughout the home and away season doesn't actually often win the flag. It's sort of who times the run. So I actually reckon Port Adelaide, I'm going to back in for the flag, and they'll probably beat Collingwood. But yeah, one of those two teams that are probably going to do it. And yeah, Coleman medal. That hasn't worked out either. I think Tom Lynch, he didn't make the Australian last year, but he averaged the most goals per game. So I don't know how he didn't. It was a bit stiff. If he didn't do a hammy, he probably would have kicked 80. I think he kicked like 63 and missed 5 or 6 games. So, but yeah, I think like Owen said, the Texan is kicking big bags, and I don't know, he's getting on a bit, but he seems a bit like Tom Hawkins, playing almost better with age. So I think he's got some pretty big bags left in him, and obviously Adelaide are giving him good service this year and playing great footy. Really, they've been one of the big surprises. And then the Brownlow, Took, that hasn't worked out at all well either.
He's missed most of the season, yeah.
He did the meniscus, and I think he's missed more time than what I did. So,
You warrior.
Get yourself sorted. He must have done it. Yeah, reasonably bad, because he was one of those blokes I was like, yeah, he'd probably get back in a couple of weeks, because he is extremely fit and professional, and I know works hard with his rehab. I can imagine, but yeah, he's had a bad run and it's cost Gold Coast a little bit. But yeah, the Brownlow. I'm probably going to go Nick Dacos. I was thinking Toronto, but the fact that Collingwood would have just won more games than Richmond, I think might get him over the line. Who's the better player? I'm not sure, but there's not too many better than Nick Dacos at the moment. And his impact lately, obviously, probably 3 votes on the weekend, 2 or 3, obviously him or Jordan Dawson, but his impact over the last month or 2 is maybe dropped off slightly, but he's still played games that are 3 vote worthy. So, and he started ridiculously well. So, it would be good to actually see him win it as a young fella. It hasn't been done, someone that young, for quite a while. So, yeah, I'd probably have to back him in. And the top 8, I don't know what order it'll finish really, but I think, I feel like obviously Port Adelaide are going to make it. The Western Bulldogs, I reckon they'll make it. I feel like the worst team in the top 8 is probably Essendon or Western Bulldogs. So maybe those 2 could potentially come out from, Geelong in it. Are Geelong in the 8 right now?
Yeah, no, they're not. They're not currently in
That's outside percentage.
I think Geelong and Richmond, or Geelong and Gold Coast might be the 2 teams that go in. But yeah, Geelong are probably the best placed, and the team most capable of going in for those teams.
Well, yeah, we speak about Port Adelaide, and just quietly, they've won 11 or 12 in a row, I believe. Something ridiculous like that. But But yeah, Blair, we'll go with you next. And you didn't actually go with the top 8 when we did our predictions. You just picked Richmond for the flag and just said, "Yep, see you later." It doesn't matter who else is in there. All he knows is that Richmond are going to make it and win it convincingly. You you also went with Took Miller as your Brownlow medalist. Jezza Cameron for Coleman and Sam Darcy you went with for Rising Star. Thoughts, predictions, all the bits and bobs.
Look, there's not really many thoughts coming to my head right now. Apart from those tips, I shit house. I'm glad I did not tip an 8. Because I mean, it was only one way up from those sort of tips, which was I could have picked a decent 8, but judging on the basis of those, I would have had West Coast in the top 4. So that was tough. That was tough to listen to. I'm glad I didn't put in an 8, to be honest. Look, Tigers for the flag. Obviously things haven't panned out the way we'd hoped, which we've discussed, but I mean, I think going at the start of the year, there was a lot of people that thought Tigers could make the top 4 and be a very much a genuine contender. Jeremy Cameron, I stand by that one. I think I'm still going to tip him from here. He's a bit of a freak. He's had a bit of a quiet space, but he's only like 4 behind. I know he's missing this one coming up, but yeah, hopefully he could still get there. And then Took Miller. I had a great year last year, obviously injury. This year, which so I'll stick with Jez for the Coleman. To be honest, for the flag, while Collingwood and Port look the most likely teams, I don't know. I'm not sure, but earlier in the year I think I would have had my second behind Richmond as the D's, and something about them, I just keep saying the D's for the flag. I don't think they've played that well, and in saying that, they're 4th on the ladder, and I think they definitely haven't been playing the best footy. They knocked off Collingwood the other week, but I think I think I put Brisbane and Port Adelaide, despite how good they're going, to the back of the mind a little bit, considering that I think it's going to be tough for them. They might make it, but I don't see them winning the granny playing in Melbourne. Compared to sides like Collingwood and Melbourne, but I'm gonna go with Melbourne. And in saying that, look, I think Melbourne have a strong run home. I'm gonna pick them for the flag. Obviously, Rising Star, Sam Darcy. I don't know. Let's just move past
Bit
that.
left field, let's just say.
Yeah, look, I remember you boys saying bloody Ashcroft, and I was like, sitting there in the podcast room that day, I thought, I won't be a follower. Or next time I'm going to be a follower, I think. And so I think I'm going to go Sheasel. I think I just like him better than Ashcroft. I don't know. And for the Brownlow, obviously Took's no chance. It's going to be interesting. I only sort of decided this just then that I feel like I'm going to tip Christian Petrarca for the Brownlow medal. Clary's missed a fair few games. And it's normally those two taking votes off each other. Like Dacos is the likely one. He's probably the closest, I think, that'll get to track if we're speaking in this way. But I was a real advocate for Butters. I was, but then I looked at it and I looked at last year, and I think Zach Butters last year, there's no arguing that his jump has been dramatic. However, last year I thought Rosie and Butters have both lifted incredibly this year. Last year in the Brownlow, I think Rosie got 14 votes and Butters got 3. And Butters just, to get 3 votes last year for the whole season, he just doesn't really poll that well, as Rosie really polls well, I think. So I think Rosie at $34 on Sportsbet, it's probably actually he's an outsider to poll a lot more than people think, I reckon. But I'm going to go with track. He's having a pretty elite season. D's are up amongst it. No Clary kicking goals, so I'm going to run with him for the Brownlow, I think.
Yeah.
Fair enough then.
I don't even think I gave a NAB Rising Star before, did I, Mansell?
Did you stick with Ashcroft?
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't even.
You had it before the year.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know I did Ashcroft. No, I'm actually going to change, mate. I'm going to go this will make Hugo happy. I'm gonna Machito Owens. I think he's a really dynamic player and versatile, and probably more dangerous than Sheasel and Ashcroft at the moment. Probably can tear games apart a little bit more, I reckon, just because he's height and his athleticism.
Saying as they're wasting him in the ruck, Machito. They're wasting him in the ruck.
He's been second ruck all year, mate.
Yeah, wasting him there.
He's been playing well. The only game he got clamped down on was Richmond. I think Brody or Nick Boston just, ripped him a new one. But yeah.
Brody's one of the most overrated players in the AFL.
Oh, he shut down Jez Cameron and everyone shut him down since, so including Gary Rowan.
You got something against Gary Rowan? He looks just like you. You got something?
I didn't get that. I didn't get that.
No, full credit. He played well the other night, but he'd want to when he almost gave him a brain bleed. So it's pretty bad. But me and Gary go way back, mate. Smoking coke, drinking piss. So
in the toilet support ferry. Well,
yeah, ungodly hour.
Absolutely, we got up to all sorts, mate.
Oh, geez, take it easy. Let's move on. I think I covered everything. Connor took the old spotlight back, but I think that's all my controversial takes.
But yeah, Machado.
Well, before he went on about before he went on about the whole Gary Rowan talk and everything like that, he did bring up a good segue for Hugo, because Hugo went with a different Saints first year for his rising star in Mateus Philippou. Firstly, before I get into anything else, do you want to change internally and go with Machado Owens, or is Philippou your man?
I'll go with Machado Owens. I think he's had a very good year. I've told you boys to start where he's having the second best statistical season ever for a key forward. So I think Machado should win it. I think his impact's far greater than Sheasel's and Ashcroft's, but that's not to knock either of those two players. They're obviously good, great young players, but I think Machado's just been that good, and we're seeing something quite special.
What about your mate Joshy Ward?
He's been playing at Box Hill the last couple of weeks. Had an injury about 2 months ago and worked his way back nicely through Box Hill. So he had 28 and a goal on the weekend. So
he's absolutely thriving at Box Hill. Absolutely.
I mean, he was the difference in you beating me in Supercoach earlier in the year, so he's done his job, really, hasn't he, this year?
that would be big time.
Fly out type.
Yeah, he had 38 and a goal on the weekend, so he should be back in this week, I reckon, after Hawthorn's performance last week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well,
the Cheeto, key forward, that's a bit laughable.
Before we talk about thriving at Box Hill, I won't spend 10 minutes on myself, because I did have a performance there on Saturday. But anyway, we'll
come
on,
man. So that was not needed. That's what
we brought self-indulgence in for. Stuff like that.
Anyway,
cut that out.
Anyway, you went with Ben King as your Coleman medalist. I think it was more wishful thinking to try and get him to St Kilda when you made your decision. But that being said, he's up in the ranks after missing the first 5 or so games of the season. You had Andy Brayshaw as your Brownlow medalist as well.
I thought my tips were bad.
Well,
yours, mate. What do you expect? It's Hugo. He's a bit delusional.
Well, if we look at his 8, he's just probably the closest to what we've seen at the moment. Apart from Richmond winning the flag, but he had anyway. But he had Brisbane on top, Geelong second, Richmond third, Melbourne rounding out the top 4. Then he had St Kilda in 5th, which are currently 5th at the moment. So, there's something there. And then Freo, Collingwood, and Gold Coast. And Gold Coast are 7-7. So, here you go. Are you changing anything there, or are you keeping it mellow?
Yeah, no, I'll change it. I'm gonna have the 8 as it currently is, minus Essendon and the Dogs. I think Geelong and the Suns come in from outside the 8. I don't think Freo and Richmond will get them.
Hater of
Uh,
Richmond.
and your Brownlow and Coleman.
Brownlow, I think Zach Butters. Even though that Blair has brought up is quite concerning, I'll back him in. And Coleman, who do I'm having a blankie. Who's up in the Coleman?
Guys,
Okay.
Tex Walker at the moment, but you have Ben King.
Oh, Toby Green. I'm going to back in Toby.
Ooh.
He's fifth at the minute. Giants playing some good footy. I'm going to back him in.
Oh, after Ben King ends up winning it and you've just changed it on him.
Ben, but in some good form. But Toby just can't go past him.
Here's the next question I've got for you, Hugo. What about Maxi boy? Maxi King, is he going to actually come from the clouds and win the Coleman?
Well, given he missed the first 10 weeks, if he wins it, I'll be off my rocker, mate. I'll parties in the streets of St Kilda, mate. Absolutely. But no, you are. But
Would that be better than would that be better than the Saints premiership?
No, nothing will ever beat that.
Oh,
I don't think you'll ever see it though, mate. So you might need to celebrate the little wins.
No, well, to be fair, if Max King wins the Coleman from here, there's a good chance St Kilda win a premiership. So, you know.
nah.
Do you want chicken salt or regular salt? He wants both.
Nah, Max. I don't know if Max. Will Maxi King will he ever win a Coleman? I think he's better getting hit by golf balls in the head than he is kicking goals.
Hey,
Good on him.
game
They do knees and they get hit by golf balls. That's all they do. Kick points.
He's averaging more goals a game than anyone else in the competition. He's kicked 11 goals for the year. He's on fire at the minute, boy.
It's a bit of a free kick Hawthorn type thing though. Maxi King, he just gets looked after, protected species. Him and Charlie.
He gets molested each week, and they don't give him anything.
Well, okay, I think we've heard Connor and Hugo chat.
Yeah, I know. I think we're reminiscent of that argument that they had back around Supercoach draft days. Anyway, we've gone through the predictions. Let's go through the tips of the week and quickly run through these games. Brisbane, Richmond, Sydney, Geelong, Adelaide North, Dogs playing Freo, Gold Coast and Collingwood, Essendon Port on Saturday night. Then we've got Hawthorn, Carlton, D's, GWS, and West Coast St Kilda rounding out the round. Boys, Owen, we'll start with you. Just your tips for me, please.
All right, I'm going to go Brisbane over Richmond, Geelong over Sydney, Adelaide over North, Freo over Bulldogs, Collingwood over the Suns, Port over Essendon, Carlton over Hawthorn, Melbourne over GWS, and Saints over West Coast.
Hugo?
I'm going to go Lions over the Tigers, Cats over the Swans, Crows over North. I'm going to go Doggies over Freo, I'll go Pies over the Suns, Port Adelaide over Essendon, Hawthorn over Carlton, Melbourne over the Giants, and the Saints over West Coast.
We'll go with you. Your tips for the round?
Before I get into it, am I actually like in the ballpark on the leaderboard or not?
Okay, so if we read out the tipping leaderboard here, I've got it written down this time for you guys. Owen's on 88. Owen's on 88 after getting them all right this week. Then we have Connor on 82. Hugo on 80, and Blair, you're on 74. So 2024 can't come any sooner.
74, 88 is the
behind.
Catch up, big fella.
Well, I just need another extra. I need 40 rounds, and then I'll give me a chance. I mean, yeah, I don't know what's been going on with that. Yeah, just
pretty ability with that score, Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, Butters still won't win the Brownlow, but Richmond to beat Lions. Well, it's probably because I do tips like that. Geelong to beat Sydney. Adelaide pump North. Dogs get it done against Freo. The Suns to upset the Pies. Up in the sunny condition.
That's why you're losing, boy.
Yeah, but look, you can't come back from 14. So
I know you need to go for the risk.
And like it looks good for comes off. I've got nothing to lose. I can't go any lower. Port Adelaide to
Yeah,
beat
I reckon.
Essendon. Take it easy. I'll actually try. Hawthorn Carlton. It's going to be a draw. They both know not to score. Melbourne to beat Giants, and then Saints to absolutely murder West Coast.
I'm gonna go Richmond over Brisbane. Brisbane are due for a loss at the Gabba. Richmond playing well. Geelong, they've had the wood over Sydney. Adelaide over North Melbourne. Western Bulldogs over Freo because it's at Marvel. Collingwood over Gold Coast, but Gold Coast will challenge. Port Adelaide to beat Essendon. Carlton to beat Hawthorn. Melbourne to beat GWS in a tight one. And St Kilda to beat West Coast, and that'll be huge for percentage for St Kilda.
Supercoach boys. Just a couple of weeks in and we'll go.
I can give you a bit of a segue into Supercoach here. Speaking of percentage boosters, kind of got one on the weekend. I don't know if you boys saw the scores.
I've seen it.
Was it 165? Mansell, can you read them? Spam me the. I can't.
Was it 155?
I don't have access to them, so
well, to be honest,
I'll go into it.
Blair had 655
from 6 players.
And Blair, I had 1,465. Yeah, so won quite convincingly.
I had 4 players missing too, so I would have this.
Yeah, I had 14, mate.
Yeah, bit like my situation. I lost to Hugo, but I had quite a few missing. Hugo's flexing, but he's still sitting second on the ladder. Nothing's actually changed on the ladder since
I
we
tell you
last.
what's changed. My percentage is worse than Connor's. I got murdered on the weekend in percentage. Now it's actually went below Connor's. I didn't know that was possible.
I'm a chance to get off the bottom.
You're not, mate. I've had like wins against Owen twice.
Nah, but I'm a chance. That's morale boosting. But I was never going to tell him that. I knew that all his players had the bye. I said to Dad, don't tell him until after like a couple games, and then it'll be too late for him to change anyway. And he just didn't tell him in general, so even better. And it worked. Absolute wonders for me.
Is this payback for the Oliver deal?
And then that's another one that's hit me.
A little bit, but that was a smart by me in the end.
Yeah, the most delusional ball ever.
He was originally out for 6 with a hammy. Actually, he was originally out for 6, I think, with a hammy, and it's gonna turn out that way.
Okay, mate.
That infected blister. It was a cop out, I think, just for the fact that his hammy wasn't right. So.
Well, we've definitely put it to the viewers whether it was psychotic or genius, and I think Connor will argue that it was genius. But yeah,
look, I'm just looking at my team. Sorry to bring this in. Jeremy Cameron -3. Imagine if Connor had that. Imagine what he'd be saying. Jeremy Cameron -3.
Oh, thank Gary.
You got knocked out in the first 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, thanks to your own man. But
thank Gary, not me.
Apart from that, I had 111, 114, 150, 135, 77 to 71. It's not the worst. And I had 3 blokes that scored 100 on the bench that didn't count.
I'm 2 and 3 in my last 5. I'm coming, boys. I'm coming hard.
Finals aren't 1 in June, guys. So
you're not coming.
I'm in the finals. So it just needs to go well at one stage. So doesn't it?
Yeah.
That sounded a bit dodgy by you, mate. So anyway,
Hugo, out of curiosity, obviously, I have no access to the account, but how much did you score in the bye round where all the Saints players weren't playing, and was it greater than 655?
It definitely was greater than 655.
You hit 1,000.
Yeah, I've had them drop to 1,000. So the drop, 365 below 1,000. It's quite disgraceful, no matter what the excuse is. Pathetic. It's pitiful, and it's nothing kind of a disgrace. But he's probably still got the best chance of being Owen. Let's be honest, though. which
No, I'm
makes
actually
it
confident
funny
now.
when they were losers in the grand final.
You're
But
confident now.
Yeah.
Really?
no,
Even
I just
not
want to happen for the
last
story.
Yeah, mate. You haven't seen my team, and your heart's out of it now. So
It's
I'm
not.
fine. It is.
I'm working. It's temporary.
He's
It's a
pretty-
hiatus.
He is predicted for 1900 this week. 1899. I'm 1600. I'm gonna have to make some changes.
I've been having to download too. I've won 2 of my last 5 games because I'm building it for prime when it comes to finals. So
Yeah, so
nah,
Clary's
yeah.
still in the box. He's ready to go.
Clary this, Clary that. No, he's one player. So yeah, work on that. Anyway,
Can you put on
Yeah.
for Brownlow? I've got him as well. So
Oh, jeez. I think we've been speaking for too long because they're going to kick us out again. Owen, do you want to wrap up the show?
nah, wrap it up. All right, easy. Thanks, boys, for joining. It's been a great episode. Good to get back into the swing of things. Thank you to listeners and viewers out there. Make sure to follow us on the socials and keep checking what we're posting. And we'll see you all next week. Take care.
See you later.